Patrick, I thought the Global Symposium was a fantastic and inspiring event. I want to get to the whole thing at the end of this, but I do want to kind of focus in on a couple of sessions from the main conference, starting with the plenaries. Really, we started with a look inside the Legend Type 2 Diabetes study. Can you talk about what was presented, what came out of that effort?
Yeah, it was great to have the entire community together for our Odyssey Symposium, and it was great to use that platform as a way to showcase our Legend Type 2 Diabetes study. Diabetes is a common disease, inflicts millions of people around the world, and yet the clinical guidelines are still rather unsettled as it relates to what is the most effective treatment and what are the comparative effects and risks of those treatments. And Legend Type 2 Diabetes really represents a giant step forward for the clinical research community in terms of providing real world evidence that does the head to head comparison of all alternative anti diabetic treatments for all relevant outcomes, both cardiovascular benefits as well as adverse events and harms. And so it was really great to see the work that Mark Suchard and the team have been leading by running the Legend Type 2 Diabetes study showcased through a variety of different clinical paper presentations. We saw the results from the first mainstay case class analysis that has previously been published just a couple months ago in JACC, highlighting how GLP-1s and SGLT2s show a cardiovascular benefit relative to other treatments, consistent with clinical guidelines and really providing the largest piece of evidence to support current clinical practice. But we also saw other dimensions of the study highlighting how this information can be used to support safety questions from regulators, as well as how there are additional insights that we can gain that are relevant whether you're in academia, industry, or government. And so I think it was really great to show how one study can produce such a composite collection of evidence that can actually really drive added use of real world evidence to support clinical practice.
It was certainly fantastic to hear about the study, but of course, we don't get evidence without data. And the second part of that plenary, we heard about the experience from a number of our data partners and our efforts to build the Odyssey Evidence Network.
Yeah, and I was really touched to hear from Scott Duvall sharing his personal story and why he sees value for the Department of Veterans Affairs to participate, to have Toledo showcase what it means for IDIAP to participate from Spain, to hear from Atif about why an organization like IQVIA would want to engage. And what I thought was really a nice call to action that Claire highlighted is that this isn't just about participating in one study. While Legend Type 2 Diabetes is a major milestone for our community, really what we heard from that entire panel was about how we can be doing studies like this at scale every single day. And while diabetes is an important disease area, it's not the only one that we can and should be focusing on as a community. So I thought what was really powerful about that session was highlighting what's in it for data partners, and what's in it for our community if we can really start to collaborate at scale.
So we have studies and we have data, and now we're thinking about, well, how do we get our message out there? How do we get these results out there? And I thought really an inspiring part of the day was to hear about the new collaboration between Odyssey and JACC and the potential for where this can go, and really the importance of thinking about how we can get the work that we're doing out there to clinicians.
Yeah, I'm really excited about our strategic partnership with JACC. It was great to have Harlan Krumholtz come and share his perspective, as well as to have Yuen and Chan as associate editors of JACC to be able to participate in that panel discussion. What I took away from that conversation was a call to action to our entire Odyssey community that we as a community are priding ourselves on trying to establish and empirically evaluate scientific best practices, and yet our message is not being heard by the broader clinical community. And Harlan communicated very nicely that JACC can be that place where we try to communicate our methodologic findings so that we really promote best practices being used by the broader research community. It also can be a place where, as we generate evidence, we can think about this as a place to innovate on dissemination strategies, both continuing through the traditional peer review publication process, but also thinking about when we generate evidence at scale, how can we get information out there that goes beyond the traditional publication process? So it's great to have a partnership with JACC and to have the leadership of Harlan and Yuen and Chan to help us as a community think about how we can work together towards making sure that the evidence that we generate has the impact it can have by getting in the hands of decision makers around the world.
For 3 days, I really could feel an energy at the symposium, starting Tuesday morning with that introduction to Odyssey tutorial, going all the way through, Thursday afternoon, the latest workshops still being packed. You're still seeing packed rooms and people talking about what their work groups are doing and how it can further Odyssey's mission. And of course, Wednesday afternoon, you have the collaborator showcase, fantastic lightning talks, posters, everything you can find on the Odyssey website right now on our symposium homepage. But could you feel that too? Could you feel that energy, and how inspirational and exciting is it seeing where the community is going?
Yeah, I thought this year's Global Symposium really was kind of a milestone for us in terms of people's legitimate interest in figuring out real ways to collaborate at scale. We've often had presentations where people have shared the work that they've done. They've maybe tried to forge individual connections and collaborations, but what I felt and saw happening was a sincere interest in us trying to figure out how do we work together as one community. The tutorials were overflowed with folks that are really looking to try to learn not just how to join the journey, but also diving deep into topics like the vocabularies and ETLs and how to run network studies and learning from the Darwin EU efforts and thinking about how we can expand that beyond what's going on at the EMA. Our workshops were all filled with lots of individuals who really wanted to figure out how they can participate and contribute, not just listen and learn. And I thought the collaborator showcase really showed a lot of energy where people were really trying to figure out how can they learn from each other and how can they bring that back in. And what I came away particularly was energized and hopeful about how we can together work as one community towards solving the big healthcare problems of our time. And I felt more optimistic than ever that what we've built together as an Odyssey community really has the potential to make a profound impact in the lives of patients around the world.
Certainly, these resources are, as I mentioned, available for the community, but we continue to move forward. There's the NEI challenge that is happening in November. There's the APAC Symposium, which is December 4th through 8th. There are weekly community calls. There's CBER-Best seminars. A lot to really be excited about as we move through the end of 2024 and into 2025 and beyond. Thanks for joining, Patrick.
Thanks, Craig. Science!